Most people think gold has always been the ultimate safe haven, eternal, untouchable, and immune to the chaos of human decisions. But what if I told you there was a single moment in history when gold's power simply vanished? Not gradually, not over decades. Overnight. A moment when the very thing nations trusted to anchor their economies, this shiny metal, was stripped of its authority with the stroke of a pen. Markets reeled, foreign governments panicked, and ordinary citizens woke up to a world where the foundation of money had silently shifted beneath their feet. Today, we're answering a question almost no one asks. How did the world's oldest symbol of wealth lose its throne? And more importantly, could the same thing happen again? Stay with me, because the ending is already repeating itself. To understand how gold's shine faded, we need to rewind to a time when the world was desperate for order. The year is 1944. World War II is grinding to its end, and nations are terrified of inflation, currency collapse, and the kind of global depression that had fueled the war in the first place. 44 countries gather in a small town in New Hampshire, Bretton Woods. Their mission is monumental: build a financial system that prevents another global catastrophe. The architects of this system include the commanding economist John Maynard Keynes, representing Britain, a brilliant and controversial American Treasury official, Harry Dexter White, and a room full of exhausted diplomats who knew one thing for sure: the old world was gone. But here's the twist: they didn't tell the public the system they built was already unstable from the beginning, because it rested on one spectacular assumption. They believed gold could keep the world honest. For thousands of years, gold had been money. But during the chaos of the Great Depression, nations abandoned the gold standard one after another to print more money and survive. So at Bretton Woods, leaders attempted a hybrid compromise. Currencies would be pegged to the US dollar. The US dollar would be pegged to gold at exactly $35 per ounce. That meant every country's currency was indirectly tied to gold as long as the United States promised to keep converting dollars into gold on demand. And because, after the war, the United States held more than 70% of the world's gold reserves, everyone agreed that the world placed its trust in American vaults. And for a moment, it worked. Economies rebuilt. Trade flourished. Stability looked real. But underneath the progress, cracks were already forming, cracks caused by the very thing the system was supposed to prevent. Throughout the 1950s and early 1960s, the US economy boomed. The dollar became the world's currency. Nations used it to settle trades, store savings, and measure value. But there was one flaw. The US kept printing more dollars, while its gold reserves stayed the same. This wasn't a conspiracy, it was structural. The world needed more dollars to fuel global trade. America needed more dollars to fund Cold War commitments, military operations, and massive social programs. But every new dollar weakened the ratio between dollars and gold. Foreign governments started to notice something alarming. There were now far more dollars in existence than there was gold backing them. This imbalance was given a name: the Triffine Dilemma. It predicted that the system would eventually collapse under its own contradictions. Meanwhile, countries like France began asking questions out loud. If the US keeps creating dollars, can it still promise to convert them into gold at $35 an ounce? Behind closed doors, many already knew the answer, but nobody wanted to say it publicly. By the late 1960s, the cracks had widened. Inflation rose. Confidence in the dollar slipped, and foreign nations started cashing in their dollars for actual gold, realizing they might be holding claims to a rapidly shrinking treasure chest. Then came the moment that forced the world's hand. France sent a battleship, yes, a literal warship, to New York to collect its gold, not a metaphor. A real naval vessel arrived to bring French gold home. Other countries quietly followed. American gold reserves began to drain at a frightening speed. And that brings us to August 15th, 1971. President Richard Nixon appeared on national television to deliver what sounded like a minor technical policy adjustment, but it was anything but minor. Calmly, confidently, he announced the temporary suspension of Tito Lad's convertibility into gold. But everyone in the room knew it wasn't temporary. It was the end of the gold standard. In a single moment, the dollar was no longer tied to gold. And because every other currency was tied to the dollar, gold's global power evaporated overnight. The world's financial anchor was gone. Markets panicked. Foreign leaders were furious, and citizens woke up to a new reality where money was backed by absolutely nothing but government promises. The shockwaves hit immediately. After the announcement, Currencies began to float freely for the first time in modern history. Exchange rates swung wildly. Inflation erupted across multiple nations, especially in the US, where prices spiraled. Gold, ironically, didn't disappear, it exploded in price. Freed from its $35 constraint, it shot upward $100 an ounce, $200,000, $400, and beyond. But the bigger fallout wasn't the price of gold. It was the psychological shift. Money once anchored to something physical and finite became entirely abstract. Governments could now issue unlimited debt. Central banks could print as much currency as they wanted. The world entered the age of fiat money, perpetual inflation, and ever-rising national debt. The gold-backed world had died, and the debt-backed world was born. But leaders still hoped to fix things. After 1971, nations scrambled to contain the chaos. First came the Smithsonian Agreement, an attempt to reset currency values and stabilize the system. It failed almost immediately. Then came the Plaza Accord in 1985, where countries coordinated to deliberately weaken the US dollar. It worked temporarily, but it created new imbalances elsewhere. Each attempt was like patching a sinking ship with duct tape. The original problem remained. Without a hard anchor like gold, currencies float wherever political incentives push them. And those incentives, they almost always point toward more spending, more debt, more money creation. Which brings us to today. You might think the collapse of gold's power was a one-time historical event. But look at the numbers today, and the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Since the end of the gold standard, global debt has soared to record highs. The US alone now carries over 120% D2 GDP, levels once considered dangerous. The money supply has increased, not by percentages, but by thousands of percent. Inflation, once thought tamed forever, returned with a vengeance in the early 2020s. Meanwhile, nations like China, Russia, India, and Turkey are buying gold at rates not seen since the 1960s, because confidence in the current monetary system is fading just like confidence in the dollar was fading in. 1971. Even central bank officials quietly admit the system is entering a new phase. Digital currencies are rising. Dollar dominance is questioned. Geopolitical tensions are pushing countries to search for alternatives. And here's a twist most people miss. The end of gold's power didn't end gold's relevance. In fact, it may be setting the stage for its return. History doesn't repeat perfectly, but it often rhymes. Narrator VO. So what do we learn from the night when gold's shine faded and its power was stolen? Takeaway: Uno systems built on trust can collapse instantly. The gold standard didn't fall because gold changed. It fell because people stopped believing the commitments attached to it. Takeaway: those money is only as stable as the people managing it. When leaders choose short-term convenience over long-term discipline, currencies inevitably weaken. Takeaway: tres, every monetary system ends eventually. Gold-backed, silver-backed, fiat-based, none last forever. They evolve, break, and get replaced. We are living through one of those transitions right now, an era where debt is ballooning, nations are stockpiling gold again, and digital money is reshaping the definition of currency. Warning: when a system ends, it ends suddenly. Just like 1971. Just like that night when a world built on gold woke up to find its anchor gone. So stay curious. Question the foundations of the financial world around you. Because the next shift may not be decades away, it may already be happening. And if you want deep dives into moments like these, moments where history turns in a single night, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what is coming next. Thanks for watching. Stay alert, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.